In the Canadian Centre for Architecture's monograph accompanying Richard Enriquez's 1993 exhibition Memory Theatre, Phyllis Lambert writes that the architect was making a very untypical contribution, both to the quality of the built environment in and around Vancouver and to the symbolic lexicon of architecture in general. Enriquez's work, she says, is about grounding architecture as deeply into history as the site allows. In his important 1986 project, the Sinclair Centre, commissioned by the federal government to combine its services into a single central location, the original identity of each of the 4 pre-existing buildings on the city block site remains largely intact. The first is the Vancouver Post Office of 1905, designed by David Awart for the Department of Public Works, a grand expression of federal authority in the Dominion's booming new Pacific metropolis, and a prototype for post offices built across Western Canada. The R.V. Winch Building, designed by prolific BC architect Thomas Hooper in 1909, is a lavish Beaux-Arts commercial building commissioned by Richard Vance Winch, a flashy salmon canning magnate, who later sold his building to the government. The Customs Examining Warehouse, also by Ewart, built 1911-13, is a functional and handsome classical building which served as an annex to the post office and was already conceived as a piece with the earlier 2 buildings. And finally, the Federal Building of 1937, an understated, strip classical modern building designed by the leading Vancouver firm of McCarter and Nairn, who dominated public building in the city into the 1950s. Enriquez's intervention is an act of historical interpretation that allows the component elements to speak for themselves. Each of the 4 buildings was carefully restored and unified by gallerias spanning the old postal alleys, which converge on a central atrium. Ornamental details from each of the 4 buildings are echoed and extended. It is a reflection on layered architectural and urban histories which won Enriquez the Governor-General's Award for Architecture in 1990. A proposed redevelopment adds a massive 22-story tower to a site whose historic scale and character Enriquez's design thoughtfully preserves. Just the seismic improvements needed to structurally support this height could mean the loss of 1 or even 2 of the Sinclair Center's component buildings. We propose that the Sinclair Center, as conceived by Enriquez, be recognized in and of itself as heritage, as a significant example of adaptive reuse and postmodern design, and that a more innovative solution to the need for additional government office space be sought, preferably with Enriquez's involvement or consultation.